Looking to sound like you know what's going on in the world? Pop culture, social strategy, comedy, and other funny stuff? Well, join the club and settle in for the Jeff Dwoskin Show. It's not the podcast we deserve, but the podcast we all need, with your host, Jeff Dwoskin.
All right, Howard, thank you so much for that amazing introduction. You get the show going each and every week, and this week was no exception. Welcome, everybody, to episode 114 of Live from Detroit, the Jeff Dwoskin Show. As always, I am your host, Jeff Dwoskin. Great to have you back for the mother of all episodes. That's right, that's what I said, the mother of all episodes. Mrs. C is here, Mrs. Cunningham, Marion Ross from Happy Days. That's right, we're continuing the Happy Days. As I promised during the Mort Krim interview, Anson Williams was a couple weeks ago, and we've got more Happy Days coming. But right now, let's focus. We got to focus on Marion Ross. Marion and I talk about her career. Of course, so much Happy Days. You won't even be able to handle it. And her book, My Days, Happy and Otherwise, which I highly recommend, a delightful book. Anyway, I'm excited to talk to one of the greatest TV moms. The greatest TV mom in all of TV history. My conversation with Mrs. C. That's right, Marion Ross is coming up in just a few minutes. Of course, if you dig Happy Days, don't miss episode 110 with Anson Williams. That's right, Potsy was here. That was a great interview. Last week, Mort Krim, Will Ferrell's inspiration for Anchorman. Mort Krim, an amazing journalist from the time when we trusted journalists. The inspiration for Ron Burgundy. That was a great, great conversation. That was episode 112. I grew up loving Happy Days, so after you listen to this episode, no, there's another one coming. I got another interview in the bank. We're going to have a trilogy of Happy Days episodes. I'm excited. But in the meantime, it's time for the social media tip. Oh, this is the fun part of the show where I share a little bit of my social media knowledge with you. A little 411, if you will, I picked up on the street. I've been in the social media game for a long time, and I love to share information that I hear. Sometimes just knowing about something is half the battle. The idea is you hear about something here, go Google it if you want to learn more. I was reading an article that a friend of mine, Doug Cohen from M10 Social, wrote, and then we were talking about it. And so the tip is, if you're going to do stories on Instagram and Facebook, the order to do them is do them on Instagram and push to Facebook if you need a link in the story. Reason being, you can't add a link in Facebook, but you can add a link in an Instagram story. And when you share that story to Facebook, the link works on Facebook. So there you go. There's the workaround of getting a link in your story on Facebook. And that's the social media tip. I do want to thank everyone who checks out our live show every Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Crossing the Streams. We're live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, talking about TV shows you should be binging. But you're like, Jeff, I don't have time for that. Who has time? I say, well, good news. Every Thursday, I push a bonus episode of this podcast right to your ears. That bonus podcast is solely focused on highlighted segments from Crossing the Streams. So if you don't want to play along with us live, I'll just jam it right into your ears every Thursday for your listening enjoyment. It's a win-win. I do want to thank everyone in advance for their support of the sponsors. When you support the sponsors, you're supporting us here at Live from Detroit, and that's how we keep the lights on. This week's interview sponsor, Cunningham Hardware, located in the heart of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. You looking for a nut, bolt, screw, nail, washer, wing nut, hinge, pipe, doorknob, door lock, wrench, pliers, hammer, work gloves, or a magnet, or a wall hanger, or a flower pot? We got it all. And everything's 25% off. That's right. You need clamps, funnels, wood stain, staples, staplers, rope, varnish, spray paint, fuses, tape. We got it all at Cunningham Hardware. Looking to paint that room? Well, we got 10 different colors awaiting you in our all-new paint aisle. Stop by now, 25% off all this month with code JEFFISFUNNY. That's right. Listeners to Live from Detroit can enjoy 25% off at Cunningham Hardware for the rest of this month. All right. Well, if you need any of that stuff, including toolboxes, padlocks, any kind of building supplies, now you know where to get them. Well, I think it's finally time to share the conversation I had with Marion Ross with you. Get ready for my fabulous conversation with the one and only Mrs. C. Enjoy. All right, everyone. I am so excited to introduce you to my next guest, actress, author, from Albert Lee to Mrs. C, everyone's favorite TV mom, Marion Ross.
Good morning. Well, I should say good afternoon. I think it's already been noon already. How is everybody?
So great. So wonderful to speak with you. Like so many, I grew up watching Happy Days, so this is quite a joy.
Well, have I ever met you in person?
We have never met, but maybe one day. There's still hope. I'll hold out. You know, I'm excited to kind of just talk about your book and your career, and
okay.
So excited. I read your book, My Days, Happy and Otherwise. Loved it.
And tell me where you live right now.
I am just outside of Detroit, Michigan.
Oh, no kidding. Good for you. Good for you. You've got lots of snow, I'm sure.
It's starting to come down. Yeah, we're getting a little bit today. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm from Albert Lee, Minnesota, which is very southern Minnesota, 100 miles south of Minneapolis.
Probably gets pretty cold there too, growing up. Huh?
Oh, brother, the lake would freeze over, and we would walk across that lake to go to high school. You know, my God.
People who don't live with snow don't understand the lake effect, so it must have been extra cold there.
Oh, brother, you can't imagine. So then in the summer, it was very important because we were all junior lifeguards. We ran the Dwight's ice cream store, you know, sold popsicles to everybody. It was a wonderful place to grow up.
I can imagine. That's where it all started for you, right? Just dreaming of having your name in lights.
Absolutely.
And then amazingly, decades later, there's a statue of you, maybe even overlooking that same lake you were just mentioning, bronze statue. Yes. How amazing is that?
It's a beautiful statue. I like her a lot. She's a very nice person, isn't she? Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen pictures. It's a wonderful thing. But how amazing is that to think, like, when you were, 13 years old, a young girl, like, just dreaming of being an actress, and then the impact you made, and then the town coming together to do that statue in your honor outside of the Marion Ross Performing Arts Center.
It's really quite unbelievable. It really is. That's why I'm so proud of it, and I'm so proud of the town that they care enough. They want to do that. I'm very impressed.
Yeah, it's so amazing. So you were in Albert Lee, dreaming of being a star. Changed the spelling of your name so it looked better in the lights. Love that.
Exactly. And the war was, now World War II was just getting over with. So we sold our house. We got on the train and went all the way from Albert Lee, Minnesota to San Diego. And that was a good thing to do because San Diego, I was now going to be a senior at San Diego and in high school. And it was so wonderful because we had the Globe Theater in Balboa Park. It was a wonderful, wonderful professional theater. I was so proud to be connected to that.
It's so great. And I love, like, up until that point too, where you talked about, you had mentioned, like, just your drive and to just even to be an au pair in another city, to take private drama classes and all that kind of stuff. Like, the drive that you had and the vision that you had is so amazing. That's why I love the fact that now that statue in the performing arts, it's just such
Well, it's, my mother was a Canadian from the Great Prairies of Saskatchewan. So she was Irish, so she had a lot of drive in her. My father was Scottish, and he was very hardworking, too. The whole thing that you could become whatever it was you wanted to become, it was very important.
It's great that they supported you so much in helping you fulfill your dream.
Yeah, great. And then when I went up to Minneapolis, then I found a professor or an instructor at McPhail's School of Music and Drama, and I would take lessons there. So I'm always looking for a teacher and a coach and a place to go and take more lessons. Fun.
Yeah, it's incredible. And then Paramount eventually scoops you up.
It was wonderful because when I went to San Diego, I got sort of discovered at the Globe Theater, and the talent scout from up in Hollywood and the Paramount Studios. Wow. So now they put me under contract at Paramount. It was fantastic. I think I lasted maybe like about a year and a half, but it was pretty thrilling to go into the commissary and sit at a big table with all these new talent. And here was Martin and Lewis, Martin and
Sure.
Lewis, and I tell you, it was and C.B. DeMille was there, sitting there in the commissary over at this special part of the table. Oh my gosh, it was very, very exciting. And Edith Head was running the makeup and the hairdoing. And so if you went up into Edith Head's salon, and it was just wonderful. Very big time.
When you were on contract, it was called the Golden Circle.
Oh, that's right.
How did that work exactly? They just, you were there, and then as roles would pop up, they would just pull from the talent pool?
No, they didn't. They really didn't have great schools going on, but here was other talented people. Here, I don't know if you know Carolyn Jones from the...
Morticia.
Yeah, Carolyn Jones. And Audrey Hepburn was there also at the same time. So you wanted to die because you wanted to be Audrey Hepburn. And you wanted to go over there to the beautiful costume department, and there was Edith Head running all the beautiful clothes. And it just was a very exciting time. Because that is over now. If you go to Hollywood now, that period is over.
How do they do it now?
Now, it's smaller scale. There's agents everywhere. There's little schools everywhere. There's this and this. But Paramount Studios had a big talent department. So did MGM. So did 20th Century Fox. You wanted to be connected to all these important people.
That's incredible. You told a great story in the book about being at Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall's house.
It was fantastic. It was, yes, because... oh my God! Here we are. Here's Lauren Bacall. Humphrey Bogart was not in the play. This was Blithe's Spirit with Sir Noel Coward. Sir Noel Coward, who had been knighted now, and I had read his book early on, and now I'm meeting him, and I am playing the British maid, and it's wonderful. And Claudette Colbert was there. I was her maid, so it was very exciting time. Awe-inspiring, I'll tell you.
One of the interesting things I read in the book was that the original Rat Pack wasn't who, in my head, like Dean, Sammy, Joey Bishop, Frank Sinatra, but it was a much wider group.
Oh, the Rat Trap was a whole different thing. I was younger than that. I was not in that at all. So that was interesting. We just have to read these early Hollywood books, My God. 20th Century Fox had a wonderful talent department. MGM also did. Universal, not so much. They were just beginning to be so big as far as new talent. A very thrilling time to be there.
So as a British maid, and then one of your first TV roles in Life with Father, an Irish maid. So dialects were your thing. And before you went on to being king of the moms, you were queen of the moms. Maids, it seemed to be. I'm just noticed that theme. When did you realize you were so good with like the dialects, which you'd later then use in Brooklyn Bridge?
Early on. Isn't that something? Yes, because I was a young actress, so I would have a Scottish accent. Sometimes I would be in a play, and then an Irish accent, and always a challenge. Always, and I loved the challenge. I loved my mother being Irish from northern Saskatchewan, always inspiring me. And she said, "You can be anything, you can be." And they had all come from Ireland. Tough farming. My mother was a young teacher up there, but I was raised to believe that I could do it. You can do it.
It's amazing how much support and motivation you got from your family. It's so wonderful,
isn't it? And I had a crippled brother. He was like about 2 years younger than me, and he had a bad leg. So because I was more healthy, it was easier for me to be so ambitious and so driven. I was so driven. It was amazing. Either you are like that, or you just can't get like that, Were you driven as a young person?
I was driven. I probably could have been more driven. I mean, reading the book, I don't know if I was as driven as you. So it was definitely inspiring to see how well you were driven. Your brother, Gordon, he went on to act as well.
He did. God bless him. He was a very, very good actor, and he did very well for himself. And he was a very nice guy, made lots of friends. I tell you, became a very good bartender, too, I must say. Yes, he did very, very well considering how hard it is in this business,
He had your drive to probably drive him as well. I'm assuming you inspired your whole family.
Yeah.
So the interesting thing in the evolution of the story is that the role that everyone told you not to take is the role that eventually led to Mrs. Cunningham, Mrs. C, and that was a non-speaking role in Airport.
Oh, that is so interesting. Yes, right, because I made good friends with Sandra Gould. Do you know who the actress Sandra Gould is?
She was in Bewitched, Miss Gladys Kravitz.
Right. Anyway, she knew everybody in town, and she was smart, and she was ambitious, and so I would go to her house, and then all of a sudden for dinner she would have a casting woman, Millie Gussie, would be there or somebody. And so it was a wonderful connection with me. And, oh, God, it makes me laugh just to think about all those years, all that trying.
It's interesting that everyone I talk to, a lot of times there's that one moment, that one thing that kind of leads to everything else. That it's sometimes like if that hadn't happened, who knows where the story may have gone. It's so great that you just understood the importance of being in this role and taking it, because Sandra was in the similar thing, right? She was also in a non-speaking role in the same movie.
Yes. She wasn't quite as appealing, not quite as appealing. So I had developed a great deal of charm, My personality was I could really sell myself, By God, yeah.
I believe that 100%.
Yeah.
All right, so you're at dinner and they're like, oh, we know of this role. So that role happens to be for Marion Cunningham in the first pilot of what would eventually become Happy Days.
Yeah.
So this is your introduction to Gary Marshall.
That's right. And it was fun because we got Tom Bosley. I was married to Tom Bosley, and he was very difficult to be married to. Very difficult because he'd been on Broadway and he'd been much more successful than I was. So he sort of scorned me. But he was very, anyway, all of a sudden we are doing all these wonderful TV shows and series. And we had our softball team. We traveled all over the United States, and they would say, get out there, meet the people. So we would get out and meet all the people. So we were constantly selling ourselves and selling the product.
That was awesome. Is that during the first seasons, even just while it was all ramping up? Because it was a big hit right away, right? Happy Days?
It would have, but it caught on right away. First of all, Jerry Paris was directing it. Gary Marshall was producing it and writing it, and all the writers. And it was very fun to go to Paramount Studios, really. And then to go into the commissary, and there were all kinds of movie stars in there. In the old days, it was like that. I don't know if you can now go to the studio and go to lunch and that there's movie stars in there. Is that true?
I don't know. We should go find out.
Exactly.
Marion, let me. I have a quick question for you. So, did they name the character Marion Cunningham?
Oh yes, they didn't care. They didn't care what she was called because I was so unimportant. We'll just call her Marion. Is that okay with you? I said, oh sure. Not important. But my part became very important because Tom had gone to Broadway and won a Tony.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So he was way ahead of me.
That's one of the things I loved about the book is you were pretty open about not getting along with Tom Bosley in the very beginning. You said they eventually, you grew to love each other, but that he was very difficult at first. But
I thought it was difficult. As the years went on, I became very fond of him, but he was difficult. And then right in the middle of all of this, we've got Ron Howard, of course, but now in the middle of this, who is that? And it's the Fonz. All right, and the Fonz walked off with that show. And So that was a very important change in it.
Yeah, what was it like living through Fonziemania as another member of the cast?
It was hard because, first of all, you had Ron Howard. He was a star to begin with, right?
Right.
And to get the Fonz to become in and be this heart-spent love of everybody's life. So he walked off with the show, and we just made the best we could with it. And Gary Marshall was so smart that he took really good advantage of it. And then he put us all into a softball team. And we've got Donnie Most, who's a very good ball player. We've got Anson Williams, another very good ball player. And so that all of a sudden softball was very important. And we traveled all over the United States, and we made lots and lots of friends. And we're, meanwhile, building this background of people that knew us intimately.
What was it like, kind of just the evolution of going? Because over time, you were probably recognized from the many roles and shows that you were in. But once it hit with Happy Days, and all of a sudden you're in an episodic show, it's on every week, and it's huge. And then eventually it grows to like number one in the whole United States. What was it like? I mean, even just thinking back, like is that little girl dreaming in Albert Lee, and now here you are, one of the most iconic TV moms. Everyone knows who you are. What was that like?
It would be such a big thrill, excepting that I was so insignificant. The mother was kind of off to the side. I wasn't made such a fuss over because the Fonz had walked off with the show. And then you've got Ron Howard walking off with the show. And then you've got Tom Bosley, who won the Tony on Broadway. So you've got a lot of really heavy weight. So I was just as busy as I could be, keeping up with these guys. And Gary Marshall, Gary Paris was our director, and we met thousands and thousands of people, and that was very important that we personally met all these people and tried to make friends with them.
That's such a smart strategy that they had, like just to kind of tour you basically around the United States and just humanize you, and then it worked, right? I mean, like it probably just helped maintain the show. Marion, where I worked had softball, and they wouldn't let me play. I was the griller. They brought a grill, and I made hot dogs and hamburgers while everyone played. That was my big role. Well,
I tell you. Anyway, you've got to get introduced to show business. And we hired a press agent. You have to conquer this town. Hollywood is a pretty big town.
As Fonziemania was going on, and in your book, you mentioned that one of the things that kind of helped it was the character of the Fonz, not specifically Henry Winkler, and that Henry Winkler maintained, like, he was just totally cool with it. He didn't let that get to his head, and just that didn't impact his personal relationship with you.
We became awfully close friends, yeah. And he advised me, and it was wonderful. And even to this day, he's a very, very good friend. So is Ron Howard, But Ron's a pretty busy guy, and he lives in the East, whereas Henry is living here nearer me, here in Los Angeles. So weren't we lucky to have such a hit show? You know that? You
were so lucky. I think it's even just as amazing just how close all of you remained over the years. I talked to Anson Williams, and he just raved about you, and he talked about how close you guys are, and it's amazing to me. Like, it is amazing, right? And we've had at my house here, I call this Happy Days Farm, and we've had all kinds of gatherings and birthdays and christenings, and so that this group would hang together. We would stick together. It's so great that you have that, and that you're sort of but even during the show, in your book, everyone seemed to always kind of mention that when things would get heated or Gary Marshall needed to kind of corral the group, you were always like the main person to kind of help maintain sanity throughout. Because I was the mother, yeah. And Gary Marshall and Jerry Paris was our crazy guy that took us everywhere too. We loved being, and because the public knew us so well, so if we went somewhere as a group, they would kind of stand back and watch us because we were such a group.
You couldn't break into that group.
It's incredible. Can I ask you a question just to go back in time for a second? When the first pilot was made, which did not get picked up, and then American Graffiti became popular, and then the whole nostalgia thing was very appealing, and then ABC decided to pick it up and create a new pilot based on that original show. Was that normal back then, or like for a pilot to be passed on and then somehow be reborn?
Oh yes, it's very normal. It's because this is a tough town, and until you've been here and experienced it, you wouldn't know how tough it is, how it comes and goes, and things that look like they're a big hit, and then 6 months later, they're old history. That's why I hired a press agent. Okay, so I hired a press agent. Her name was Barbara Best, and she was very strong in this town. And I thought, listen, I gotta take advantage of this opportunity and somehow build up my name, because otherwise I'm just the mother, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That makes sense. That makes sense. It's a business. You gotta watch out for your brand.
Goodness, it's a business. Yeah.
Being one of the most iconic TV moms, do you have any other favorite moms? Like if you were to put in the top three, you being one of them, do you have any other ones?
Well, I'm thinking about Florence Henderson, who is now gone. But Florence was wonderful. Smart, talented, could sing, dance, go to Broadway. I mean, all kinds of things. It was pretty hard for the mom to walk off with a show. So I was lucky that the Fonz came along and took it with he and Ron Howard, took the show and made it what it was at the time. And I think even the expression, the happy days is like, it's a very stable thing. Stable, yeah.
You reprised your role of Mrs. C a couple times. One of them was on the new Leave It to Beaver in a dream sequence. So how do you think Barbara Billingsley felt about you stepping on her turf there?
Yeah, that was not so important to me. But Barbara Billingsley was a very, very nice person. Yes, very nice, and that was good. So it was like we all knew each other, we all worked together, and we were very flexible. Yeah,
and then you were on the Family Guy as Mrs. C, that's pretty cool. That's a great show.
I can't remember Family Guy so much. Isn't that something?
Yeah, well, it's probably some voice work. You probably just did it and then did it, right? Do you have like a favorite episode of Happy Days?
That's a really tough question. I think one of the scenes where I got to dance with Howard, we danced together, and it was nice. It was a whole life, and the show was important, but our off-camera life was just as important. All our sports, that was just as important. And I owe it all to Gary Marshall. He built all these careers, like for all of us.
Marion, what position did you play on the softball team?
That's a good question. I think I might have been within the fielding right near the pitcher, so that I could get the inside, not the long drive, but the inside ones, pick them up off the ground and throw them back to Ron Howard, because he could throw it in. I couldn't throw it in. So I would stop it and get it to Ron, because he could really throw. Yeah.
Right. What happened to your TV son, Chuck?
In fact, if you would ask Henry or Ron, oh, God. So I don't know. He couldn't hack it as much. Isn't that interesting? Because he could have, taken that role and, done something really wonderful with it, but I don't think he really did,
That character was actually in your original pilot that you did, and then it carried over.
He was, and his father was Gavin O'Hurley, a very good Irish actor, yeah. And so he was O'Hurley also. Uh-huh. I tell you, showbiz, you gotta really be flexible, You
got to work it. That's the whole theme of, I think, your book. You got to work it. I wanted to ask you about the Love Boat. You married Captain Stubbing.
Oh, I did. Isn't that great? Because we'd been friends for years and years, and then he came to me and he said, "You and I are going to get married." Oh, I said, "Oh, great." That's so great. That's so wonderful. We were together, and now Gavin is gone. Gavin, my dear Gavin is gone. Can't believe it.
Yeah, I can't believe it either. He's I've talked to a lot of people from I've talked to Ted Lange and Fred Grandy and
A wonderful guy. Wonderful guy.
Did you love going on the Love Boat then? You were on like 14 episodes.
Oh, we loved it. I loved it because, first of all, we got to wear beautiful clothes. I'd say, "Oh, you want me to wear that? Okay, fantastic." And because of Gavin, he was so kind to me, and we were not romantically involved, but we were very close friends, and we just had such a good time. And you traveled all over the world, traveled to the Mediterranean, to Venice, go to Venice. My God, can you believe it? I've had a pretty wonderful life, you know that?
I would say so.
Yeah.
Full of many happy days, if I...
Yes, many happy days, absolutely. Well, I see that the mailman came, so maybe he brought me a beautiful big check today.
I bet. Those residuals still pouring in?
We'll see what it is.
I did want to mention Brooklyn Bridge. Sophie, that's my daughter's name, so beautiful name.
Oh.
That was great. So again, you get to the dialect. I loved in the book where you talked about some of your early prep for the role, which is a Jewish woman, Sophie, was to dive into the food.
Yes. I love being Jewish, and I'm not Jewish at all.
Oh yeah, no, I know, but you played a great Jew in Brooklyn Bridge.
No, it was very important to me. Yeah, I would stop people in the market and I would say, "Are you Jewish? Are you Jewish?" And they would step back, say, "Why do you ask?" "Oh," I said, I'm listening to the way you talk. And so it was so important to me.
No, you did. It was great. It was great. What do you think about like where Hollywood is now, where everyone has to be what they're playing?
The business has changed so much. Do you realize that? It's really, really gotten smaller. And a lot of us just can pick up jobs like everywhere, commercials and this and that. And now here's all my fan mail. Oh, look at I get some fan mail, but it comes here. Fan mail, but it comes here. Yeah. Well, listen, my dear, it's been very good talking to you.
I love talking to you too. Thank you so much.
All right. So when you come to town, you must come and see me.
I would love to do that. I would love to come to Happy Days Farm.
Oh, I see that I have 4 residuals checks. So we'll open them up and see what they are. Okay. And I enjoyed talking to you very much.
I enjoyed talking to you so much as well. Thank you so much.
And please call again. All right?
All right.
Goodbye.
All right. How delightful was Marion Ross. What a joy to talk to Mrs. C herself. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to have our first outing, Jeff DeWaskin Show fandom. We're going to go to Albert Lee, and we're going to see the Marion Ross statue. We'll all take pictures together. How cool would that be? I know. Also, check out Marion's book. It's awesome. My Days, Happy and Otherwise. It's a great memoir. If you love a lot of stories about happy days and learning even more about Marion Ross's career, that is the book for you. All right, with the interview over, it can only mean one thing. That's right, it's time for another trending hashtag from the family of hashtags at Hashtag Roundup. Download the free Hashtag Roundup app at the Apple Store or Google Play Store. The app is free, always free, doesn't cost a penny. Tweet along with us, and one day one of your tweets may show up on a future episode of Live from Detroit, The Jeff DeWaskin Show. Fame and fortune await you. Follow Hashtag Roundup on Twitter at Hashtag Roundup. Join in every time a game starts. It's so much fun. A great way to grow your Twitter following. All right, this week's hashtag is Hashtag Mom Always Told Me from Wild Bunch Tags, a weekly game on Hashtag Roundup. A little inspiration from our very own favorite TV mom, Mrs. C. We dove into the archives and found Hashtag Mom Always Told Me. We can always all use a little advice from mom now and then, can't we? All right, let's read some tweets from the hashtag game. Hashtag Mom Always Told Me. Mom always told me, don't make ugly faces. It might freeze that way. That is so true. Mom always told me to knock first. That is true. That'll be true your whole life. Mom always told me, you better shop around. So true. So true. Mom always told me not to bother Dad while he's trying to nap. Don't bother Dad. Mom always told me never go to bed angry. That is a great piece of advice. Mom always told me wear clean underwear in case you have an accident involving George Clooney. Very specific, but still excellent advice. Mom always told me never step away from the stove. So true. Things can get hot and out of hand. These are some great hashtag Mom always told me tweets. Mom always told me foosball is the devil. That's true. Mom always told me clean up your room before you go out. Moms always tell you that. No one listens, but they always tell us. Mom always told me tell 100% of the truth 100% of the time. Great advice, Mom. And finally, our final hashtag Mom always told me. Mom always told me to keep doing my best at what I love. Great advice. Follow your heart, do what you love, and most importantly, listen to your mom. That's right. That's really the theme here, I believe. So anyway, great tweets. All will be retweeted at Jeff Dwoskin Show on Twitter. Go find them, retweet them, like them, share them some love. Let them know you heard them on Live from Detroit, the Jeff Dwoskin Show. I know they'll love to hear that. They'll feel famous. They'll feel like, oh my God, I've made it. I'm somebody. So, all right. Well, with the hashtag game over and the interview over, it can only mean one thing. That's right. We're at the end of episode 114. Where does the time go? It just flies. I appreciate you sharing that time with me. Special thanks, of course, to my amazing guest, Marion Ross. And of course, special thanks to all of you for coming back week after week. It means the world to me, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of The Jeff Dwoskin Show with your host, Jeff Dwoskin. Now go repeat everything you heard and sound like a genius. Catch us online at thejeffdwoskinshow.com or follow us on Twitter at Jeff Dwoskin Show, and we'll see you next time.